What's up YouTube? Capital G. Here is Felgrand, the greatest deck in Yu-Gi-Oh history. That is the question that we are asking in this video, and the question that we are going to try to answer after watching this duel. Spoiler alert, probably, but you won't know definitively until you watch this duel, because I'm just going to arbitrarily declare whoever wins this duel, that's the greatest deck of all time. Anyways, we have Felgrand at the top. Interestingly enough, running some Blue Eyes cards in here, so I guess Blue Eyes Felgrand. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen Blue Eyes Felgrand before, because you always got you know, a bunch of dragon cards, and you get synergy with Dragon Ravine, also Return of the Dragon Lords. But most of the Felgrand builds traditionally run a very low monster count, although I guess that could technically be skewed because the builds in the past used to run triple demise, and now you don't really have that anymore because demise is limited. And then we have, I mean, despite the opening hand, this is actually a synchro deck, so just believe that this is not really a link deck. This deck wants to synchro summon until the cows come home. I thought it was interesting. Oh wait, never mind, I'm trolling here. I was going to say, I thought it was interesting that we didn't see an Ash Blossom, but I think he just chain blocked with the Blue Mountain Butterfly, which, I mean, that's just, that's like the ultimate feels bad, because I feel like anytime your opponent uses Neo Space Connector, you basically have to Ash, because there's a very good chance that they're going to summon Aqua Dolphin from your, from their deck and take away the Ash Blossom, and then also get a look at your hand. So it's like, if you don't Ash, you're just going to lose Ash anyways, and they get to see your hand. But I believe the chain blocking was in, so yeah, he loses the Ash Blossom because he wants to make sure that he can get the effect of Isolde off. Definitely wouldn't want your Isolde to get hit with an Ash Blossom, or I guess even like the Armageddon Knight, which also was chain blocked, so I guess you wouldn't be able to stop Armageddon Knight. Regardless, draw some cards with them bamboo swords, not one but two, not two but three. What the kappa is going on here? I didn't even realize that he used two of them in a row. Also, take more cards out of your opponent's hand with the Aqua Dolphin. Yeah, this is looking pretty spicy. Since we are playing a synchro deck, we don't need to worry about, you know, turn 3 and 4, which means we're going for Douglas. Any deck that summons this is not really concerned about grinding. They want to put all their power into the early turns of the game. Summoner Monk using that Phoenix Blade ever so beautifully. That means pull out the Rescue Ferret from your deck, and now you can go for a whole bunch of crazy plays. And we also got Black Garden, which is going to have an impact. And at this point, you guys can see, this is just synchro-centric. I don't think that there are going to be any more link summons for the remainder of this turn. I'm pretty sure everything is just going to be synchro monsters hitting the field. Now, interesting, we got our first Quasar sighting. This will not be the only Quasar that hits the field. I promise you there's going to be at least a minimum of one more Quasar. I mean, you see all the cards you got in hand, like, chances are you're going to be dropping more Quasars. And the real interesting thing is, no need for TG Hyper Librarian. You almost always see that as the first synchro monster that is dropped in these decks, but he's like, Cap, I don't need no stinking TG Hyper Librarian. I can do this the OG way, which I'm not sure that they're, I mean, maybe the OG way in the 5Ds anime, because pretty much anytime you see, you know, wait, did I call that Quasar? I'm trolling, that's Blazar. Anytime you see these, you know, big Excel synchro monsters, they're almost always accompanied by TG Hyper Librarian. Anyways, Blazar 2 is going to hit the field, and could we see, oh, baby, a triple? So I promised you guys, actually, I promised you guys another shooting Quasar, but obviously I was mistaken, and I meant to talk about Blazar, but we already got 3 Blazar Dragons. Most Yu-Gi-Oh decks would just lose to 3 Blazar Dragons alone, but that is not the true definition of revving it up. And as you see on the artwork of Limit Drive, or Limit Overdrive, I mean, come on, it's just not a field unless you got the OG Quasar. So, excuse me, at some point, we do need to go ahead and summon that. Now, he is going to activate the copy of Necroid Synchro, allowing him to summon Stardust Warrior from the graveyard. And while Stardust Warrior is a very good card, does have built-in negation, you probably want something a little better, because I think this guy only stops like summons. So we want a little more generic, generic negation. He's gonna go ahead and activate that copy of Limit Overdrive, and that means Quasar will come out to play, but not done yet. Going to end that turn with the Stardust Seafer Divine Dragon. And now if you look at this field, I believe that, what is 12 times 5? Is that 60? How many times do you see people in the turn with 60 levels on the field? We have a whopping 5 Excel Synchro Monsters on the field simultaneously. That is 5 negations. That is 5 monsters with 4,000 attack, 5 monsters with 4,000 defense, 20,000 damage, and probably even more because I think Quasar gets like multiple attacks. I just assume every time Quasar attacks that, you know, the opponent's probably gonna die just to the Quasar. But would you be surprised if this field don't do nothing? Because Felgrand is actually OP. Or maybe what I meant to say was super polymerization is OP, because activating that super polymerization 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my goodness, the troll 5-headed god dragon coming out of the extra deck. I mean, technically I guess Felgrand could play this if he's playing super poly in the main deck. I mean, is there a possibility of him having 5 dragons and then attacking and using super poly in the battle phase for the flex? Maybe he's playing Future Fusion. I haven't actually seen this build. We'll see it after the duel. But just like that, all of your plays, all of your efforts are they're just absolutely erased, guys. That is the power of super polymerization. And would you believe that after all of those Excel Synchro Monsters, he's actually going to end up getting OTK'd, not just board completely broken, but I'm going to say Duelist Spirit completely broken, because yeah, this is not a loss. This is demoralizing. This is where you retire from Yu-Gi-Oh for at least a month or so and just kind of reevaluate your life and reevaluate how you could have won. You know, the interesting thing, he saw the Super Poly in his hand at least twice, because he used Neospatial Aqua Dolphin and he made no attempts to play around. Here's what I think he didn't believe that his opponent was going to be able to super poly him, because most people obviously just play like Starving Venom, and most people don't play 5-headed, 5-headed dragon in the extra deck. So he happened to just run into the one person who had it, and I guess maybe he thought, Cap, at worst, I'm just gonna get super polyed for a Mud Dragon. Who cares? I'll still have 3 negations on field. I'll just be able to stop whatever else he's going to play. I can basically stop 5 of his cards at that point. But yeah, man, you got to play the 5-headed dragon in the extra deck, guys, because sometimes it leads to some pretty spicy things. Anyways, let's check out these builds really quickly. Alright, so this is what your Felgrand deck looks like on paper. Usually I'd have Felgrand himself up here, but obviously 5-headed dragon was the he was the showstopper, and he stole that duel, so we gotta represent him. I guess since there's no more Card of Demise in these Felgrand builds, I guess we're now moving to Extravagance, which, I mean, it does eat up your extra deck, but Felgrand, I mean, don't get me wrong, you can summon like XC monsters, but you don't really need them all that much. I'm guessing, with just looking at this extra deck, I'm guessing actually that the fusion targets are actually, you know, more important. And keep in mind, you can always double up on your fusion targets. Like if you just wanted to run more copies of Starving Venom or 5-headed dragon, you could run more copies of those. You still see the things like the, you know, Dragon Ravine and then your Dragon Shrine, because you need as many ways as possible to load your graveyard up with Felgrand, and then those cards can also send the White Stone of the Ancients. Okay, so it's just like a couple of cards, a couple of Blue Eyes cards in here. Now, every build of Felgrand that I've ever seen, at least in the last few years, they all run some sort of revival cards, not just on my Monster Reborn, but basically like the Call of the Haunted type cards. That's why Card of Demise always worked, because even if you drew Felgrand off Card of Demise or Art Brave, who cares? You just discard them you just discard them at the end phase, and then reborn them with the Call of the Haunted, the Bat to the Fronts, the Oasis of the Dragon Souls, and it's good to see those still in there. I don't know if you can cut these down too much though, because you do still need to be able to get the dragon monsters in the graveyard. And keep in mind, anytime Felgrand is reborn from the graveyard, you get to banish one of your opponent's monsters on the field, which is always pretty good. Then we have, I'm just going to call this Synchro all day, and I don't really need to explain it. You guys saw basically every card in this entire deck played in that first turn 1. You guys know what this deck is all about. It's just about summoning these 5 cards and using a whole bunch of steps. Basically, these 60 cards, or 60 basically, I don't know, 68, 60, 70? Yeah, 70 cards. Basically, you use these 70 cards to summon these 5 cards, and then that's basically your win condition. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the duel. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you're not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos. This video has been brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/MegaCapitalG. Over 180,000 titles to choose from on your Apple or Android device. Cancel anytime with no obligations. I'm listening to The Amazing Wrestling for My Life by Shawn Michaels. Link in the description.